Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Sorry about that. We've been going through some stuff, so I am back. And on my channel, on my YouTube channel, the first four episodes are my testimony, and I put them in playlists. This episode and some of the episodes after this, my plan is to have three different sections, but this section is what I'm going to be calling the deep end. And what it is people telling their stories, whether they're, from rags to riches, whether they're from darkness to light, to, people's experiences, all kinds of things like that. So, um, this is my first episode ever, and I had the opportunity to have sit down and have a good conversation with Vicki Joy Anderson. Um, she wrote a book, They Only Come Out at Night, exposing the dark weapon of sleep paralysis, or weapons of sleep paralysis. I've gotten into it myself. It's really good. At the end of this video, she'll tell you where you can get it. Um, we're also going to have a section where I'm going to do teachings, and I'm going to start doing the deliverance teachings and how to get stuff out of your life. And so I have my testimony section, a section for people to be able to come and chat on the channel, and then I'm going to have a section for teaching. So that's the plan, and this is the first episode of the deep end with Vicki Joy Anderson. So I hope you enjoy it. Leave me a comment, tell me how you feel about it, and let's get started. Oh, first, my bad. I am doing this with my phone and my tablet, and I don't have all the stuff yet. I'm still acquiring all the stuff to be able to do a really, really good video, like technology wise. So just bear with me, and when I can get the money together, I want to be able to do the side by side videos and things like that. So on this video, I had to do like a Google call, and my face is in the picture, but I had to crop it a little bit. So now my face is kind of like half in the picture. So I'll worry about all this technical stuff. It'll get better, I promise. Just bear with me until I learn. So yeah, let's get into this. Hi guys, I'm with Vicki Joy Anderson, author,
Mhm.
speaker, researcher, and poet. And I thought we would come on here and just have a chat and get to talking to some of the things, deep dive type stuff. Um, so how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm tired, but I'm doing great, and always love coming on and chit-chatting and meeting new people, and looking forward to this.
Cool. Yeah, I got your book. I ordered it from L.A. Marzulli. I've got
Oh, there
this
you go.
far so far,
Nice.
and I really
Oh, all
like it.
right.
Yeah. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
yeah. I ordered it and I didn't get it for a long time. So I'm like, please, I got to get
Mm.
into it. I got to get into it. So yeah, I've been reading a little bit every night. So I like it. It's really good.
Oh, well, that's
Yes.
awesome. Well, and good on you for reading it at night. Some people are like, I got it on the nightstand and thought I shouldn't be reading this right before I go to bed.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you've heard of any of my testimony.
No,
Um, when I was little, I was born as a seer.
Okay.
So, and I had dreams and visions, and I had senses and, all that weird stuff that people used to think was weird, and I didn't tell anybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I kept it to myself. But throughout all those years, I was opening doors. I was,
Mhm.
Satan really tried to steal my gift,
Oh,
and he
yes.
tried to take me to the dark side.
Yes.
So, there were bloodline thing, Native American ancestry, Gypsy ancestry. So it all kind of fell on me, and I had so many witchcraft, attachments, and so I went dark with it. And then I finally was like, you
Mhm.
know what? I got to take control. I need God to help me remove these
Yeah.
things. And for the
Yeah.
last, it's been like 5 to 10 years, I just been doing a purge of
Yeah.
all the stuff. I mean, they tormented me. They pulled my blankets. They came in and got in my face. They would stare at me, stand over my bed. I mean, just fear. You know what I mean? It was just constant. They
Yeah.
chased me down hallways. just all of that. And I was just a kid, so I didn't,
Yeah.
so, and then I had that desire for darkness then. So I had
Yes.
to push all of that
Yes.
out. And so I've been doing a lot, and I went through a lot of deliverance. And one day we went to I purged. What I did is I did the trial by fire kind of thing with all my giftings to make sure nothing was dark and it was strictly prophetic and not
Yes.
dark. And one day I went to a prophetic meeting at church, and there was this little girl there, and she actually even looked like me when I was a little girl. And she
Mm.
was telling me all these things that were happening to her. And it was like this little girl was telling me my childhood.
Mm.
So I sat there with her for about 2 hours trying to teach her everything that I had learned. And then
Mm.
after that night ended, I mean, she was stuck to me the whole night. Everywhere I went, I turned around, she was right beside me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I drove home and cried because of
Mm.
what that little girl was experiencing, because I experienced everything she was experiencing.
Yeah.
So I said, there are people out there that are going through these things, and God is the way, but I also can help nudge them to the answers.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I still have more deliverance. Like, I'm battling smoking, I'm battling certain
Mm.
things, so I've still got a long way to go, but I've got it to where nothing is hovering over my bed at night. Nothing is chasing
Yeah.
me, so I've got it to where they run from me now, and I you know
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, they're not tormenting me like that anymore, because I Russ Dizdar was a big part in that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Love Russ, missed Russ. Yeah,
Oh,
so I don't know because we're just getting to know each other. We don't know each other real well, but I work with Tom Dunn
yeah,
on Through the Black, and Tom was personally mentored by Russ Dizdar for like 18 years. So
yeah.
we were friends with Russ. Tom knew him more than I did, but I knew him in the last. Russ and Russ knew my dad and I probably like the last, well, probably since like 2016, something like that.
Wow.
So we love Russ, and in fact, Tom and I we borrowed this phrase from Russ. Instead of deliverance, he called them freedom encounters. Like you
Yep.
you can have an encounter with us for freedom. And I think probably the reason he steered away from that word deliverance is there's so many connotations now, and there's a lot of people out there in the deliverance world that are well-meaning but don't really know what they're doing. And then there's deliverance ministries out there that know exactly what they're doing and they're not doing it the right way on purpose. And so
Yeah.
we kind of steer away from the word. But Tom and I, we have a little team, and we do these things every week, hours of them. I had 11 freedom encounters in 3 days this week.
Wow.
That's how many I got in. And so with that, I think that a lot of people don't realize this is something I really wish the church would grasp, because they're causing so much needless discouragement, confusion, pain, and further isolation and torment to the people who go through this. Being delivered from this kind of stuff is not always a one and done. And for some people, you can have a sleep paralysis experience and say, in the name of Jesus, get out, and they flee, and it never happens again.
Yeah.
And I'm always happy when those people call me, because you do one prayer and it's done.
Yeah.
Those are the easy ones. But you mentioned something very important. You mentioned ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are from a bloodline, and this can be secret society, it can be Freemasonry or one of those types of things, it can be high ranking military officials, it can be certain cultural bloodlines, like you mentioned. It can be royal or elite bloodlines, Illuminati families, or it can be like Plantagenet, Merovingian, and Merovingians. They trace their bloodline all the way back to the Watchers. And Gary Wayne talks a lot about these dragon courts and the blood drinking cults of Kish and all of these antediluvian bloodlines. They are still here. they manifest in different ways, but those bloodlines are still around. And most people, if you're not a billionaire, you're going to be a part of that bloodline. You're going to be on like the crappy part of the tree that doesn't get any of the wealth or the attention. But if you're on that bloodline, exactly, if you're in one of those bloodlines, you're going to start getting attacked, maybe in the womb. Your memories are probably going to go back to as early as like 3, 4 years old. It's going to be a lifelong thing. And you might not even know you're of one of those bloodlines. And what Christians have to understand is this isn't always a case of people with nightmares and sleep paralysis they've opened a door. It's not always drugs or Ouija boards or sex or pornography. It's not always that that person's a hypocrite or they're not really saved or they're mentally ill or they're schizophrenic. This goes back to the seed war. There is a war between two kingdoms. That
Yeah.
was what Jesus preached, the gospel of the kingdom. And so if we are of a bloodline where iniquity has been put on that bloodline and they are going to fight tooth and nail so that there are not any rebels or dissenters, then we are going to it's going to take so much more time for us to close all the doors, because a lot of those rituals and those covenants that were made not only before we were born, but in some cases centuries before we were born.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of the church starts to roll their eyes or snooze or tune out or get the cognitive dissonance, because we don't talk about this kind of stuff in the church and it sounds all woo and witchcraft like. And if we talk about this kind of stuff freely, people start thinking it sounds like we're the witches and we're the no.
Yeah.
It's like, look, man, we're fodder in this. But to your point, and I'll end on this: when we're a kid and we don't know what's going on, and sometimes this stuff manifests demonically, and sometimes it manifests prophetically. So it's hard for us to know as children because we haven't developed our discernment yet. And when things appear to us as angels of light and we don't yet know that Satan can do that, and we don't really always understand in our youth that sometimes discipline and sorrow and suffering can be sovereignly ordained. And so if we put everything bad as the devil and everything great and that feels good as Jesus,
Yeah.
we really make a lot of wrong choices. And I love what you said, because this is the part a lot of Christians don't like to talk about. A lot of us through especially our preteen and our teen years, we do have this fascination with the darkness. And there's a lot of us that have to shed the music, the wardrobe, the movies, the friends, the friend groups, things like that. From my era, I'm assuming I'm older than you because I'm older than everybody. But
I was,
um,
I was born 78, so I'm not.
we're not that bad. We're not that
Yeah.
bad. I'm 72, so okay, we're 70s babies.
Yeah.
So for my age group, our age group, it's a lot. You'll hear this a lot. It was because it was the 80s. It was the heavy metal.
Hmm.
It was the death metal. It was all the black. So we were pre-goth. Like there was
Yeah.
punk, and then there was like metal, but we really didn't have the emo or the goth stuff yet. But we still had the people, with the black nail polish and the black hair and the Metallica t-shirts and all of that stuff. And so you're watching all the horror movies, and you're doing all the adrenaline stuff and the bungee jumping and all that stuff. And I'm still kind of trying to unravel the psychology of that. And I mean, some of it might just be grooming. It might just be as easy as the grooming. Some of it might be identity confusion.
Yeah.
You talk now about dysphoria. There's like a type of an identity dysphoria that happens when you're raised in a Christian home, but you're having all this sleep paralysis
Yeah.
because you you don't realize that you're actually learning spiritual warfare, because you just think it's
Yeah.
nightmares. You're just a dumb kid. You don't know. Then all of a sudden, you're 15, 16, 17, 18, and you're like, okay, I don't belong with all the occultists because I believe in Jesus Christ. but I don't belong with all the Christians because I believe in spiritual warfare. And it's like you become this isolated, like,
That has
anomaly
been
that
my
doesn't
life. I feel like you're
belong
talking
anywhere.
straight to me. I really do.
Dude, I know.
Yeah.
I know. I know. And the nice thing about our age, when you go through some of the healing and you start to figure some of the things out and you close the doors, you're totally okay with being on the outskirts because you realize, I really don't want to be in a community of occultists. And I really sadly don't want to be in a community of churchgoers who have their head in the sand and don't understand the reality of the whole world
Yeah.
that I live
That's
in.
why I call
So
it
you have to find your own
fringe.
people.
That's why I call
Yeah,
it
yep.
fringe Christianity, because there's just a sect of people that know. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
hard to find each other. You know what I mean? It really is.
It
Because
is. It is.
yeah, it's
We got to
just
find our people.
yeah,
And I think that's where, a lot of Christians, like, let's just not talk about even sleep paralysis for a second. I think the reason why there are so many disillusioned Christians out there who are church hopping and I'm trying to find a church, I'm trying to find a church, is because we have this idea in our head that if we find a good church, we'll find our people. And that's not the goal isn't to find a good church. I mean, yeah, you want good, solid biblical preaching and you want worship that resonates with you. But what we really need to find more than a church is we need to find our people.
yeah,
And a lot of times our people, they aren't in church.
yeah, yeah. I do a lot of my own self study, and my mom's actually a pastor now, and
Mm,
she has a group of people. It's just like a really small, you know, home church
mm-hmm.
type of thing.
Yeah, yep.
And she has a group of people, and they're on fire. So I've kind of,
Mm,
and it's hard when you're the pastor's kid because everything that you do kind of reflects on them.
yeah.
And I'm over here talking about, oh my gosh, Nephilim are here, and they're just like, so,
Yeah.
and they are on fire and they do spiritual warfare, but I think maybe I'm just a little too out there for everybody, but they're cool. I love them all.
I know, I know. You know what kind of helped me? I had an aha moment around 2020, 2021, with everything that happened. And you know how there was all of this needless division among
Mhm.
believers? They're fighting over medical treatments and whether they should or they shouldn't, and they're fighting over whether or not to comply or not, and fighting over, all this stuff. And you had these people that were passionately fire hosing and terrorizing the people that weren't reacting the same way that they were. And this was
Yeah.
happening on both sides. And I think I had this aha moment. What if, what if there are people out there that either have a certain calling or a certain role that they are going to play at a certain point in time? Like, think about Daniel. Daniel lived a totally normal life, and then there was this weird time in Babylon when all this stuff happened and he had these visions. And you could say the same about, Esther and King David. We're living our just normal, boring, everyday lives, nothing special, nothing's going on. And then boom, all of a sudden one day we're collecting stones from a brook and we're, like
Yeah.
lobbing rocks at a giant, right? And so I realized in 2020, what if there are some Christians that by the time the crap hits the fan, they're going to be with Jesus. They're going to have passed away. They're not going to be alive anymore, or they are, they're not going to be around, or they're going to be protected, or they're going to be hidden, or they're going to be the ones that get their head chopped off first or whatever. What if the people that are going to be alive when the crap hits the fan, and they're going to be the ones that, like, what is it, Revelation 7, 15, 16? What if the ones that remain to the end of the great tribulation, what if they need more training than the people that aren't going to be there? So, in other words, if I join the military and I know that after boot camp, I am going to work on a base in the kitchen, and I'm going to be on KP duty, and I'm going to have a very important job, and I am going to make food for the soldiers. It's going to nourish them, and it's going to keep them strong for the fight. There's not anyone in the military that doesn't have an important position. But if I know after boot camp that I am going to go and work as the chef on the base, I don't need to be a sharpshooter. I know how to load. I need to know how to load a weapon, and I need to know how to carry the weapon and how to have a respect for the weapon. But I don't need to learn how to drive a tank. I don't have to learn how to parachute out of an airplane. And so, um, the people that do know how to run a gun on a tank, they're not going to come in and grab the food from the KP guys and say like, "I can't believe you don't know how to run."
Yeah.
Like they're not going to disdain that other role. And so, I started to think in 2020, there are people that have to know darker and darker aspects of spiritual warfare because it will for them one day come into play, and they will need that either to survive or to stand strong in their faith or to bring others to Christ or whatever. There's a necessary element
Yeah.
to that part of their training. So if there's someone over here who isn't bothered by any of it, and they're going to comply with everything, and it's, then I'm going to have faith that Jesus isn't putting them through that rigorous training because they might not need it. They might not be around for that part of the war. And so I've really learned to settle down, and not have to, like in my youth, you had to bicker over every little thing. Your eschatology is different. Your denomination is different. This is how we should act. And this is my relationship with technology. So it should be your relationship with tech. I don't own a television, so you shouldn't either. I homeschool my kids, so you should too. And you know what? We have to have grace for each other there. You know what? That Christian neighbor of yours that you're judging who has their kids in public school, that little 5-year-old who's in public school might be raised up to be the next apologist
Yeah.
who fronts a revival in the country. And he learned it from having to stand alone and to learn how to apologize for his faith. We don't know
Yeah.
what God is doing in other people's lives. And we sit here and we just think that, I understand why it happens when we feel like the Spirit of God has shown us something. We feel like, well, if it applies to me, it has to apply to everybody because it came from the Holy Spirit. So it's
I
true.
have problems with that when you're thrown
I
into really
know.
dark places.
Yeah.
You think everybody
It's tough.
understands that because, I'm like, I was, hiding under my bed because there were things in my room, and people are like, what? That's
Yeah.
insane. And I'm like, that was just another Saturday night to me. That was just,
Yeah.
so they don't quite understand a lot of the time. So, yeah. And I think we
Yeah.
all have our places. And I think sometimes it's hard for me. Like if someone was blessed with, say, giving, I'm sitting here like, man, I wish I could have the give. I wish I could have had that blessing. But I think, because I'm like, my life would have been so much easier. But I'm thinking maybe there's a reason, because I've thought that too. Maybe there's a reason all that stuff happened because of what
Mhm.
we need to do now. And we need to
Yeah.
experience certain things in our lives so that we can kind of pass the torch, so to speak,
Yeah.
and teach
Yep.
others. And, it
Yeah.
just, yeah, I was a little envious of the everyday type Christians for a while. I was like, man, and
Oh,
but
you know what? I love that psalm. I'm not going to remember which one it is, but there's a psalm, and I think it's a psalm of David, but I'm not even 100% sure about that. And he's really whining and moaning about woe is me. And he's basically saying, why do the wicked prosper? Why do the wicked prosper? Look at that. They got wealth, they got fame, they're skinnier than I am, they never gain weight. Like, oh yeah, and
yeah,
and he's looking around and he's freaking out. And he says, but then I went into the house of God. And when he was in the presence of Jesus, he had this eternal perspective return to him where it's like, oh my gosh, their lives are like pieces of grass. I have eternity. I'm going to be part of a royal priesthood. I have this mission, all of the blessings that are going to far exceed the wealth, the spouse, the picket fence, the house, the nice car, the body. Like, I'll have it forever, and
Yeah.
I'm going to have glory upon glory because of. And so we have to be not not in church, but we need to be in the presence of Jesus to constantly have that eternal perspective.
Yeah.
And what I have found, just like the psalmist, is if we are tempted to look around us and think that other people have it better than us, the solution to that is time. Wait, because the consequences of people's lives and their decisions and the things that they've invested in and the things that they have chosen to make most important, maybe that doesn't show up in their 20s or 30s or 40s, but you start getting to the, pushing the 50s, 60s, 70s, and you start seeing the full working out of people's lives.
The
And you
fruit.
start to look at that marriage, you start to look at that, where the wealth is and where the kids are at and where that person's joy is. And I'm to a really good age now where I can look in my rearview mirror and go, you know what? I am so glad that even though I had to go through really, really, really dark places to get to where I'm at now, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
Because the people that took the primrose path, they're the ones now uh, that are on all sorts of medication because all the things that brought them joy their whole life are slipping through their fingers. And because that was their foundation, the foundation is crumbling beneath them. And I don't care how pretty your body is or how you don't have wrinkles and you look young and you've been going to the gym and you've got all this money and you've got the husband, eventually the kids grow up and they move away and the husband retires and the body goes to pot. And if that's all you were standing on,
That's
oh my
true.
gosh. So I have learned. You know what? I remember in high school, there was a rock star, and I had such envy for this person. Even though he was male, I didn't like envy that part, but it was like he was flawlessly beautiful. He was young and he extremely talented, rich, and I had that moment that the psalmist did. Like, man, I got braces. I got facial deformity. I'm having all these surgeries. I really don't excel at anything. I don't have I'm not athletic. I'm not musical. Like I've got nothing. And you know, here we are 40 years later and it's like everything was taken from that guy.
Yeah.
Everything. His looks, his spouse, his wealth, his reputation, everything. And so it's such a limited little 15 minutes of fame, even
Yeah.
if you're famous for 20, 30 years. And I look at it now and it's like, I have a future and a hope.
Yeah.
And so it's rough. I mean, it's universal. We
Yeah.
all go through this. And so I guess all that to say, I have never lived the normal life. I've never hit all the rites of passage at the right times. I'm way behind the curve of all my other friends and where they were at with they got to live normal lives. And I don't know if you can resonate with this or not, but there's a part of me that doesn't genuinely want any of the things that my friends have. But there's a part of me that wants it all because I just want to be normal.
Yeah. I understand.
And and so that's where I struggle. Even though I don't want the normal life and I really love the life I have, and this is probably the enemy in my head, I am constantly battling with that. Um, you got left behind. You know, like everything was cool with me up till college. But it's like I got my driver's license years after all my friends got them. And just everything.
Yeah.
And so, you feel like the enemy makes you feel like you're a loser when you actually
Or the winner in a way.
you are so much more the winner. And
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about because I'm a Christian. I'm
Yeah.
talking about when you go through dark stuff like what we're talking about, when we're learning spiritual warfare at 3, 4, 5 years old, um, we are at a place where we get to our age and it's like we have seen Jesus rescue us so many times. And I had Jesus on 3 different fronts. I had him at the sleep paralysis.
Hmm.
I had him rescuing me on every level in the hospital because I was constantly in the hospital. That's scary as a kid.
Yeah.
You're in the hospital, you're afraid, you're being left alone, mom and dad are going home. Um, you never know when a nurse is going to come in with a needle or something's going to hurt or something's going to be gross. You're going to have to drink that crappy liquid medicine or
Yeah.
whatever. And then I also had him at school when all the kids were staring and teasing and being mean. And so when you have 100 opportunities a day where you cry out and Jesus helps you. Now, he might not help you the way that you want to be helped. He doesn't always rescue you out
Yeah.
of it. He doesn't, beat the bullies up and
Yeah.
all that. But when you get 5 decades into a walk with Jesus like that, uh, there is an intimacy with him that never would have been presented to you if you'd been okay on your own.
Yeah. Like an endurance too. Like a
Yeah.
spiritual
Yeah.
endurance.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And I don't want to make it sound like if you've suffered or you're ugly, you're going to know Jesus better because you know what? I do know wealthy beautiful people that love Jesus
Yeah.
with their whole heart. Because the fact of the matter is everyone has suffered loss and
Yeah.
everyone has had pain. And a lot of these I know some just beautiful women who are married with the big huge house and everything from the outside looks so great,
But
but you start
inside.
hearing their stories, you start hearing about the abortions, the sexual abuse, the rapes, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll take the sleep paralysis,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So we just can't. We just don't know what other people have been through.
Yeah. With sleep paralysis, that is the one thing I can't remember. I know you at times, I think I've heard you, I could be wrong, say that people have sleep paralysis every night at certain times. Was that, well, I don't
Yeah,
remember having it. That was the one
yeah.
thing that I don't remember happening to me. Pretty much
Okay.
everything else kind of did, but that was the one thing where it was, but
Yeah.
is it spiritual? Is it physical? Is it, because I don't know. I mean, the stories I've heard is that, you wake up frozen, can't speak, can't move, and there's something in your room, or sometimes people out, the presences and things like that. But I've never experienced it, so I can't make a discernment on whether you're in another realm, whether you're in, I don't know what it is. I know
Yeah.
I've heard also that at nighttime, your body paralyzes itself so that you don't
Mhm.
walk around and stub your
Yes.
feet and fall
Correct.
down the stairs,
Yeah.
And I know that. So I'm like, okay, so that made sense that maybe it was that paralyzation, or was it a fear paralysis? You know what I mean? So I'm trying to make sense of what exactly it is. And so I wasn't sure. So that's the one thing that
Yeah.
hadn't
Yep.
happened.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. So, yeah, what I try to tell people is we are mind, body, soul. And so we as human beings, because we're corporeal beings, we don't ever experience something divorced of those 3 things, right? So, um, you know, even when I say like, okay, I I believe in Jesus, so that's a cognitive function. Well, but it obviously involves my soul and my spirit in some way, but it's also physical because I'm worshiping and there's things that I'm doing. You can't separate these things. And so, uh, God. created our bodies. We have a physiology and we have inner workings of our mind. We have a conscious and a non conscious. We have this pineal gland. We have dopamine and serotonin, and we have all of these brain states, and we have different phases of sleep. So to say that sleep paralysis isn't physical or it doesn't involve anything scientific or physiological is foolish.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it does. And there are times where I will have sleep paralysis where I'm either fading in or out of sleep, where I'm not quite fully asleep yet, and my that prefrontal cortex hasn't shut down yet, and I have this awareness. Oh, I'm falling asleep. This is so relaxing. Oh, this feels so good. And then bam, you're out,
Yeah.
right? And so what I think is happening is that the demonic realm is taking advantage of a very opportune time because it exacerbates the experience and it makes them look more powerful than they really are. You're not holding me down, Satan. I'm my body is in a state of paralysis because that's the sleep state that I'm in. Um, but to your point, and I've had this has been an uphill climb for me because even people who experience sleep paralysis are quick to say like, nope, that's not what's happening with me. And I think that there can be different things going on there. I think some of it can be cognitive dissonance, like, hey, this is already scary. Don't make this more scary for me.
Yeah.
I think some of that might be going on subconsciously. But I have noticed the online narrative is starting to change from the time I started my research to now. I've told people the sleep paralysis that you're talking about where you wake up in your bedroom and that's the tail end of a much longer experience that starts in the REM phase. And people are like, no, that's not what's well, they're now saying online that sleep paralysis is a glitch in the REM cycle. They're saying that
Yeah.
now.
I heard that
And it's
some people will say, "Oh, my room was on the other side of the, or my doorway was on the other
yeah,
side of the room." Or
yep.
yeah.
So yep. So that's the thing. I believe that what is happening is I'll just give you a basic timeline of what I think is happening. You're having a normal dream. Okay. Everything's going fine. Everything you're with people in your dream, you're interacting, everything's great. And then all of a sudden, you know what's about to happen. Now, for some people, it's an ominous feeling. It's a fear. Some people, it's a sound effect. They can hear the vibrations. It's like a whirlwind kind of a sound or a helicopter kind of a sound. For some people, it's a tingling from the toes up. Some will actually see an entity, but there's a point where the dream disappears, and it's you just say, "Oh no," and you try to get Jesus help me out as quickly as you can. And then this is what most people think. This is what most people think. I was having a nightmare. I cried out to Jesus. I woke up in my room, and then I couldn't move. And no. Yes, you're waking up in your room and now you can't move. You're not quite awake yet, but you know you're not awake because everyone with sleep paralysis, they have that fear, that struggle, and then they know when they're awake. There's a difference. You know when you're finally out of it because that's when you're finally waking up. And so there's this intermediary period. And I believe that when you're in your bedroom awake, I believe that you are not in your bedroom and you are not awake. I believe it's a screen memory. And the reason you can tell it's a screen memory is if you are, if you have your wits about you and you observe, there will be something off.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yes, there will be something off. If you're too scared or you're not observant or you get yourself out of it quick enough, you're not going to notice it. But there's usually this glitch. And what I think that sleep paralysis experience is a distraction. So you're getting abducted in the REM cycle of sleep. You're getting pulled out of your body into another dimensional realm. I don't care what you call it. the back rooms, a liminal space, the astral plane, the astral realm, the metaverse, whatever you want to call it. You're being pulled into some sort of non terrestrial, non corporeal, spiritual dimension or plane or realm. You're not in your body. That's why you can't move and why you can't speak and why you can't scream and why you can't run. You're not in your body. It's not
Okay.
available to you. And, you know, what is happening during that abduction is usually not remembered. When people wake up, they might have a slight inkling of a nightmare or a little snippet of something that they will just chalk off to a bad dream. Uh, I tend to believe that even what we remember is likely a screen memory, because I think what is really happening is there is an interface with spiritual beings, and we are likely engaging in something that our brain is disassociating from because it's traumatic. This could be an assault, it could be torture, it could be a sexual assault, it could be a ritual, it could be a ritual you're a part of or a ritual you are forced to be a part of, like you're either the victim or the aggressor in it. Or you could be making some sort of a covenant or a contract with these things, which I think is another reason why it takes so long for us to get all the doors closed and to shake it, because I think we have at some point given an agreement to it, but we don't remember it. So, what would happen if we woke up and had full memory of that? We would be in a full adrenaline state, which we are in. So, if you woke up and you had every physiological sign that you had just experienced something traumatic. Your heart is racing, all the saliva in your mouth is dried up, you're on your back in an arched defensive position, usually. Um, you would start to ask questions. Well, I didn't have a bad dream, so like, what's going on? And so, what I think is happening is, I think that the entities that people are seeing in their room when they wake up, the red glowing eyes, the shadow man, the hat man, the hag, the incubus, the little alien grays, the whatever. I think that the only job they have at the tail end of that
Ooh, sorry.
experience is to stare at you, to
And
say
scare
boo, to
you.
spook you. Yep. So that you have an explanation for your physiological response and you don't ask further questions.
Okay.
Well, of course, my heart is pounding and I'm scared to death and my saliva is all dried up. There's a monster in my room.
Yeah.
And so what I really am trying to convince people of, and I want to differentiate here, so this is very important. I believe everyone has had sleep paralysis once or twice in their life. It can be brought on by stress, heartbreak, grief, anger, rage, puberty. You can open a door. Like, everyone's had it once or twice. I think some people have it and they don't realize it at all. What I'm talking about here, I don't want everyone in the world to think, oh, I don't remember my dreams. So what's happening? I'm talking about people who can go back to like 3 years old and talk about paranormal activity that's happened to them through their entire life. They have seen manifestations. They're haunted in their dreams. This darkness is coming over them. They're being groomed into dark things. There's usually an early kind of sexual awakening in there. There's some erotic dreams or that they may or may not remember. There's a whole bunch of other things going on. There's usually trauma. There's a lot of times there are physical illnesses and autoimmune diseases that come on that are unexplained, that doctors don't know where they came from. It's not genetic. You have chronic fatigue. You wake up, you sleep 8, 9, 10 hours, and you wake up absolutely exhausted. Interesting. I don't sleep with tech on, but for several years I did. I slept with a Fitbit on. And now that we have technology, it's starting to measure what we've been talking about this whole time. Because I've always been a very tired person. I've had chronic fatigue. And I, s- I've struggled with shame my whole life, thinking that I was lazy because I would sleep in. And believe me, I'm a very productive person, but I always had this shame that I was lazy. And when I slept, those years I slept with a Fitbit on, and I would sleep 8 to 11 hours a night on average. And the way you measure if you're getting good sleep is you combine your REM and your deep sleep phases. There's 4 sleep phases, and you combine those 2. And you should be getting about 4 to 4.5 hours of combined REM and deep sleep a night if you're sleeping 8 to 9 hours. I would sleep 8 to 11 hours a night, and I would have an average combined REM and deep sleep of 45 minutes for years.
Wow.
45 minutes. And I'm like, well, no wonder I'm tired, you know? And part of that has to do with the fact that a lot of people that have these types of experiences, they are lucid during these dreams, and not intentionally. I'm not talking about new age people who lucid dream. I'm talking about when we are in heightened adrenaline, our dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which shuts down during REM, it turns on, because that's why we know we're in danger, and that's why we have a thought process in these dreams, and that's how we can know that, like, when people are offering us things or what, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, the
Yeah.
reason we have that higher reasoning is because the prefrontal cortex is supposed to be resting, but it's not, because we're in this heightened state of awareness and adrenaline because we are in this situation. And so because of that, we're not getting rest, because rest is measured by that prefrontal cortex being shut down. The higher reasoning gets shut down. But when we have to access that every night because we're in a fight or flight situation, it doesn't shut down. That's why we're tired. And so there's nothing demonic or spiritual or new age about it, guys. It's the way God designed the brain. It's a method of protection. When we um, look at a mom. Moms intuitively can wake up out of a dead sleep because they know their kid's having a bad dream. They know their
Yeah.
kid fell out of bed. My brother used to sleepwalk when he was 5. My mom would wake up out of dead sleeps and run to his room, and he'd be missing. He'd be out sleepwalking in the street.
Yeah.
It's part of, like, what is it? What do they call it? The reptilian brain. Like, there's something about um when we are in danger, especially in spiritual matters, our heart, our soul, our mind, we were designed to be in a state where we can protect ourselves. Jesus doesn't leave us completely just drugged out on a table for people to do whatever they want with us. And so I do think that the reason so many of us have this exhaustion when we wake up is because our higher reasoning is active all night, because we know we're in trouble. There's something instinctive there. So I'm kind of all over the map here, but what I'm telling you basically is the sleep paralysis experience where you're waking up and you feel like you're in your room and you're seeing or feeling an entity, or you can't move, or you feel like you're being choked or you're being held down. That is all theatrics. Now, I'm not saying it's not scary and that it doesn't have a spiritual effect on us, or that there's not attachments there. I'm not poo-pooing that by any means, but what I'm telling you is that's kind of the melodramatic side of these entities. They're putting on a little show because they don't want us to understand or remember that something much more serious happened in the dreamscape that we likely don't remember. We're going to fixate so much on that entity and on telling all our friends about it and having the campfire story and getting online and Googling succubus and Googling Lilith. And we're going to be so wrapped up in that, we are never going to ask ourselves the question, did I make some sort of covenant with these things? Or have things happened to my soul in the dreamscape that has deleteriously affected my identity? Is there work, healing work that has to be done? And even there, we have to be careful. And this is why we have to be careful with deliverance ministries, because when you start delving into, I must recover all my memories, and now you're into
Yeah.
hypnosis and womb regression and all this stuff,
There's
you're
a
just
there's a
opening up
line.
doors. Hmm.
There's a
Yeah,
line you do not cross, because then you're going
that's
into
right.
New Age, and
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. So I don't think like I don't like kind of like you say I don't have any memory of sleep paralysis. I don't have any memory of anything horrific in my dreams. Like I've never seen one of these entities. I've always just they're in the room. You get a sense of how many they are, if it's a male or a female energy. You know if they're seething with rage or they're mocking you. Like there's these things that you just intuitively know. Um, there's a lot I don't remember, and I have no compulsion whatsoever to remember, okay, was I in a ritual in the astral realm, or did I make this agreement, or was I in a bride of Satan ceremony, or like I have no impulse whatsoever to try to recapture those memories because I've already figured out the cipher. This can happen. So I'm going to pray and I'm going to ask Jesus, hey, will you disavow me of this stuff? You know, you were there. You understand what happened. And if I have a mediator who can disavow me of covenants that I made, then I don't have to remember every
Yeah.
detail of every covenant. So I'm not too wrapped up in that. Now, if you are in a situation where there's been high level ritual abuse, where you have dissociative identity disorder or you have alters that are holding on to memories and you have missing time in your life where you can't even remember 3 whole years of your life, it might be important for you to recapture some of those memories because it's going to be part of your healing.
Yeah.
So again, the mold doesn't, it's not a
Yeah.
one size fits all for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. I had a question. When you're talking about different astral realms and things like that, um, tell me what you think of this.
Okay.
Okay.
Hit me.
Okay. I have dreams where I see what's going on in the enemy's camp, pretty
Okay.
much. So I just run and I just out them. I just I just go to the person that I was like, hey, there's this thing and it's doing this and I'm gonna tell you because you need to pray about I kind of just do that. I've always been that weird, I don't know. So I have dreams and sometimes I'll have dreams when you were talking about that being really, really tired thing. I have
Mm-hmm.
that. But sometimes it feels, and okay, this is gonna sound weird. It feels like my skin is not on right or something. Like it's not, it's a
Mm.
weird, it's like an uncomfortable, it's like my soul was popped out and it was put back in a couple inches off. Or,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like it feels
Mm-hmm.
like that. And I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
else to explain it without sounding, strange. But I had
Yeah.
a dream, and this is one. I've had two in the last maybe, one was a while ago, another one was just a few months back. The first one was I had a dream that I was in a building and I went up the steps, and you know how in movies and on TV and this actually happened, but you would have the beds when you had people sick. They were like
Mm-hmm.
one after the other. It's like a
Yeah.
gymnasium.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I saw women and people. I don't remember any men, but I do remember women, and they were all in these beds and they were held down like they would in a psychiatric unit with the arms and
Uh-huh.
legs.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there were
Yeah.
witches, people in black cloaks, and they were walking around the building, and I saw them all grouped together and stuff. So in my dream, I went up the stairs, and it was like they didn't see me or something. I went up the stairs and I started popping off people's binds, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
started, it was like at first they were all asleep. As soon as I popped
Mm.
these little binds off, I started freeing, letting them out. They started waking up and leaving the building. So I was popping binds off of people, and and then they noticed me. The witches noticed me, and I started praying, and they kept being pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, and I kept popping binds. And I woke up. Now I got goosebumps just thinking about it. I woke
Yeah.
up and
Yeah.
I felt off. I didn't feel bad. I just
Mm-hmm.
felt like something was weird. And it just
Yeah.
it
Yep.
and it takes me about 3 hours. Like I won't talk to nobody. I won't, do anything. I kind of keep to myself for a few hours and then I feel normal again.
Yep.
Um, so
Yep.
that happened. And then I had one just a few months ago. And this one kind of made me laugh because it was weird. Okay, my mom told me about some of it, but I had a dream that me and a group of people, other Christians, went into this church, and this church was it looked abandoned, dirt, ceiling tiles, So we were in there, we were just sweeping and getting trash and stuff out of it. And I look down and I see that there's a piece of wood on the ground that doesn't it's part of the floor, but it doesn't match the rest of the wood. So I said, I for some reason I felt like I got to cut this up. So I cut a hole into the floor, and I looked and I saw legs run across the bottom, like in a basement or something. And they were
Mm,
yellowy and like demonic looking, but they looked like human legs, but they were just weird colors. So I stand up and I notice there's this black shadow. It keeps coming at me like it's a cat or something. It's trying to attack me. It's trying to take a piece out of me. Right? And I keep saying, leave me alone. And it keeps coming at me. And then in the next session of the dream, I'm outside and it keeps coming at me. And I reach down and I grab it by its head. And when I grabbed it, its head was face shaped like a gray, but it wasn't gray. It was looked like a person, but it had sharp little teeth and had big eyes. And when I grabbed it by its head, it looked terrified. And I looked at it and I said, "You don't have authority here." And as soon as I said that, its feet looked like it was trying to stand on wet ice.
oh,
So it was slipping all around the place, right? And I had grabbed it by its head and throat. And when I woke up, I had a mark on my neck.
mm,
So I don't know what
mm,
that was because I woke up and I felt like I left my body, did spiritual warfare, and came back. That's the
mhm,
only thing I can
mhm.
explain, because and that's happened a few times, but those are the two that I remember most. And people are like, "Oh, I heard somebody say, it was astral projection." I'm like, "Well, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just going to
Yeah,
bed." you know?
yeah, exactly.
I'm just going to sleep. I'm not asking, I'm not trying to leave. I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just going to bed.
Yes.
And this just happens to me. So,
Yeah. So that's why I make a distinction between astral projection and astral abduction.
okay.
Because there's people who train for it, they desire it, they want to do it, they're looking for it. Um, you, you've got people now shifting, reality shifting, lucid dreaming, out of body, astral projection. These are people that want this and they're seeking it out. Then there's people like you and me where it's like, I'm going to bed. I'll see you in the morning. Leave me alone. But we find ourselves being pulled out in the REM, and then we're in these situations and we didn't want it. We didn't ask for it. As
Hmm.
soon as we realize in that dream state what's going on, we make short work of it. In the name of Jesus, get out, wake me up. We're not lingering and exploring and going and
Yeah.
talking to people. So a couple things that you brought up. Let's talk about. You brought up some great things. First of all, your skin being off.
Yeah.
So this isn't really my wheelhouse. I keep meaning to look more into it. I believe that Joel Thomas of Merkle Media has done a couple shows on this. What they're doing now, apparently, is they have REM clones. So when you're pulled out of your body in the REM state, if you're going to be in a situation where you are going to have memory or knowledge of, like they basically have an REM clone that looks as much like you as possible. Now, the reason why I have trouble getting my head around this is because when I'm in these situations, I'm not really aware of what I look like, and I'm not
Yeah.
looking in a mirror and I'm not examining myself.
Me either.
Um, yeah. Now, the one exception to that was I had an experience, I think last year, where I was in like your classic government facility interrogation kind like observation room where I thought I was in a hotel room there was nothing on the walls or anything and there was nothing in there. Everything was white and there was a bed with just a white mattress on it, no blankets or anything. And then I thought it was a plasma TV, but when I woke up it was like, oh no, that was the observation window. And I laid down and then I started seeing the shadow figure coming toward my bed and I realized this was right after I had been researching and was starting to speculate that when we're in our room at night, that it's a screen memory.
Okay.
And what I think the Lord was showing me in that dream, he was verifying my theory, was that that's what it would look like if the overlay, the screen memory of my room wasn't there. Because you're
Okay.
laying in a bed, here comes the shadow person, but then there's this window. So in that dream, the glitch, because I didn't, there's no bedroom there, so I have no way to determine a glitch because I'm not in my room. I had lifted my hands up for some reason because I was laying down, and so I had my hands lifted up for some reason. And at that particular time in my life, like once every couple of years, I grow my nails out and they get really long and I get them painted. And I
Yeah.
just, so this was a time where I just had these gorgeous nails. And I looked up and noticed all 10 nails were broken. And, and I'm like, how would all 10 of them break at the same time? And then I realized, wait a minute, even if they broke, I would still have nail polish on. I would still have nail polish
Yeah.
on. And as soon as I ruminated on that, I went lucid. And for the first time in my life, the shadow man is coming up to my bed. And instead of fear, I literally like shushed it. I put my
That's
hand up
what I
and
did.
I went, I went, I shushed it and it stopped. And even though I couldn't see it in my mind's eye, it was like, what you talking about, Lewis? Like it had this like, like it was so shocked.
That's funny.
It was great. And I'm paralyzed, at this point because it's sleep paralysis, and I'm paralyzed. So it's taking great effort to speak out loud, and I start to sing a hymn, and I think it was "How Great Thou Art." So I was like, oh, I mean, it took forever, and I got the first two lines out, and after I got the second line out and I was starting to strain to move on with the song, I heard a voice in my head that I think was the Spirit of God that said, um, rebuke it. And I basically I didn't say like in the name of Jesus. I can't remember what I said. I hope I wrote it down because it's kind of fading now. But I completely blew this thing off, and then bam, I wake up in my room. And so in that case, I saw my body in that dream. And except for the fingernails, I looked like me. So when you said I felt like my skin was off, I have had a couple dreams where my fingernails. And what was so crazy is for me, the two times it's been my hands, my because first of all, that's the one thing that you can see.
Yeah.
And I've had two dreams where I've noticed my nails were broken, and then I had another dream where it was kind of out of body. And when I put my hands out in front of me to push something, they were like corpse arms. They were like
Uh,
blue, translucent. And so, what I think is so fascinating about that, if they're screen memories or if they're REM clones, just like AI, they can't get the hands right.
okay.
They can't get the hands right. So I do think that some of this where we don't feel like we're in our skin or something's off, I think that it could be an REM clone that they temporarily shove us in so that we don't ask questions or get suspicious. Um, or it could just be that the screen memory, there's something about these folks behind the controls that whether it's AI or it's astral, they just, it's still uncanny valley. They can't
Yeah.
get the hands right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I felt like my skin was weird, it was after I had woke up. So
Interesting. Okay.
so it
Okay.
was kind of like it felt like I went somewhere and came back and didn't sit right. You know what I mean? Like I didn't.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. It was weird, and it takes about
Yeah.
3, 4 hours. Sometimes I'll pray. Sometimes I'll
Yes.
just kind of drink my coffee and keep to myself a little bit, and then I feel normal again. It takes a few hours,
Yeah.
but it's weird. It's
It's been sort of, this, the last 6 months, I've been talking more and reading more accounts of UAP experiencers, like people who, abducted by the alien kind of thing. And I've never had anything in my life that I would have attributed to like, oh, this is the UFO agenda, or that's a UFO, or this was a UAP, or that was a gray. Like I've always felt more like it was the demonic stuff.
yeah,
But the more I read and the more I talk to people who've been through the alien stuff, the more I'm seeing that the sleep paralysis experience is way, way closer and interrelated to that experience than I've ever realized before. And so, where am I going with that? So, you were talking about oh, yes, you were talking about waking up and it taking a few hours to kind of feel normal again. That reminds me of two things. So, when the UFO experiencers wake up, they talk about how they're still sedated.
Oh.
And I have always said I wake up exhausted. I wake up, I'll always say it's like Dorothy in the poppy field. I have all these analogies and metaphors. It's never dawned on me. What if I'm sedated? Because it does kind of feel like you're in that micro
Yeah,
haze.
that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm not me. I'm not, something's
Yeah.
it's like when you wake up from surgery and you're
Yes.
like, you know,
Yep.
that's kind of what it
Exactly.
feels like. And I try to stay away from people because I don't want to say something I shouldn't say or be mean
Yeah.
to somebody or
Oh,
be
I
rude.
know.
So I
Yeah.
just keep to myself and I just
Yep.
sit and I play my game or I pray or I do something on my own. And I won't
Yeah.
even go in and talk to my husband. I'm like, leave me alone. I don't want
Yeah.
to do something out of character, you
Yep.
know? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's why. And then in a few hours, I'll be my name. I'll be like, I'll just being
Yep.
goofy and I'm fine. But yeah,
Yep.
that's what it is. It's weird. And when you start talking
Yeah.
about a room where people were watching you or
Mhm.
a glass,
Observation room.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
I had a
Yeah.
dream that I had was in a hospital and they were trying to attach things to my spine. They were like
Mm.
little knobs, they look like, and they were trying to attach them up my spine. And I got up in my dream and I ran out of the hospital. And I was just wearing a gown, a hospital gown, and I had bare feet and everything, and it was snowy outside because I'm in Ohio.
Mm.
So I ran out
Okay.
and I left the hospital, and then I woke up and I was exhausted again. So
Yes.
I have a lot of
So
these
the
dreams, and I'm usually exhausted. So I understand when you say you're tired all the time. That's how
yeah.
I have that too.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that I was talking about early, Valerie, where it's like we wake up and if we have any memory of it, we just say it's just a dream. And anytime we've had these dreams where we're on an examination table or it's a surgery, um, I would prayerfully inquire as to whether or not
They put things in.
that's a that's a memory or it's a dream. Because if you wake up exhausted, that might mean you were lucid in some other I hate talking about this
Yeah,
because I don't like to freak people out, but um, it it's just important to do the due diligence and pray and just renounce everything we can possibly think
yeah,
of, because the thing that's scary about the dreams is even if we remember a little bit of it, we don't remember all of it. So
yeah,
it's like, what's the part I'm not remembering?
yeah.
Where's the part where before I had surgery, they gave me a clipboard with the form and I filled it out and signed
Yeah,
my name to the
exactly.
consent
I didn't
form,
see that.
Ugh. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Yeah.
it's funny too because I've also had dreams where like my mom did this thing and she a friend of hers went to Jerusalem and bought a Torah. And my mom did this thing where she went kind of like Sean, oh, worship leader. She went to every state house and
Okay.
unrolled the Torah in America, every single one, all 50 states, and did worship at the state house. And she traveled to every single state and did that. That's what the
Wow.
guitar behind me's from. That's the guitar she
Oh,
took. And
okay.
so when she would do warfare, sometimes I would have a dream that night, like I was standing there watching it. And
Mm.
I would see what the demonic was doing, screaming and yelling. And I would text her and say, hey, I text her the next morning and say, hey, I had this dream about. She's like, oh, we were doing warfare, and I'm like, you're making me tired. I'm like, because I would see what she's doing. And
Yeah,
so it's like I'm standing there watching demons scream and fly away and yell and I'd wake up and I'd be exhausted and I'd message her. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, we did major work. I'm like, can you give me a couple days? But
yeah,
I would see those types of things. So I don't know if I'm leaving or if it's prophetic and I'm just seeing it from a prophecy standpoint. Or
yeah,
because
yep.
I mean, it can't be just be a dream because rationally
It's
speaking, how
lining
would
up.
I know? Yeah, how would I know what she
Right,
did that
right.
night? So it has to be either
Yeah,
spiritual or a leaving of, you know.
yeah,
So,
yep.
and I'm just like, I just
Okay,
don't know.
I'm super glad we're talking about this. Before we get into this, I want to specify that, kind of like we were talking about earlier with the hypnotism and some of the other stuff. I don't want people to take what we're saying here and take it way, way too far. I don't ascribe or promote anything remotely like astral projection.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of these people, well, if you astral project into the third heaven instead of the second heaven,
Yeah.
then it's okay. Like, no.
I don't think it's okay at
And
all unless, I mean, God's
no,
just doing it. It happening. I'm not
yeah,
trying.
right. So this whole idea that we somehow determine that we have a gift and so we're going to go into heaven and we're going to talk with angels and we're going to help angels. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. So everybody, that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So back to what you're saying. You have a dream and you wake up and go, huh, a cool dream. Um, I've had dreams where I have woke myself up praying for the salvation of someone who I know isn't saved. And then I find out the next day that they died in their sleep. That's happened to me a couple times.
Yeah.
I remember I have a brother who's not saved, and it's a long, long, horrible story. But I remember kind of getting to the end of my rope once and not knowing how to pray. And I remember being taught in this dream. Like it was the person in the dream looked human, but I knew it was an angel, like disguised so that I wouldn't freak out. And this angel was literally using scripture, teaching me how to pray for my brother. And I woke up remembering it, and it helped me get to a deeper level of warfare prayers for my brother's salvation, which I otherwise wouldn't have known if I hadn't had this dream. I've had other dreams less important, but it just goes to show that there is some sort of a connection between our real brain and these people we're communicating with who have all the knowledge at their fingertips. So here's a really dumb non-spiritual example. Back when I was a kid, if you went and rented a movie, um, you had to just kind of remember what the name of that movie was and where you got it. There was no internet, there was no
Yeah.
playlist, there was no whatever. And so my brother had been really into the Beatles. He was in high school. I think I was still in junior high, and he got really into the Beatles. And so he had rented A Hard Day's Night, which is this black and white Beatles movie. And there was one scene where they sang a song, and I loved the melody of it. So I was at a record store and I was trying to remember the name of the song so I could get the album that it was on, and I couldn't remember it for the life of me. And every time we would go to this record store, I would try to like um piece it together for, man, blessings to all the people that worked in record stores in the 80s where people would come in and go, "What's that song?" Da da da. Oh my goodness.
I
Those
was
were the
there.
days, man.
Yeah. You had to remember
Those were the
yourself
days.
or everybody remembered stuff so much better.
I know. Oh my goodness. So I couldn't think of it. So one night, it was the weirdest thing. In this dream, I ran into this guy and he was bragging about how he was the biggest Beatles fan in the whole world. I'm like, yeah, so what? Who cares? Whatever. And I had a moment of clarity and I'm like, wait a minute. In the movie Hard Day's Night. And I described the scene and he sang it for me. And when I woke up, I didn't remember the title. But I went to the record store and I'm like, oh, it's that song that goes, oh, oh, I never let it do. He's like, oh, yeah, it's this. And I got the record. Okay. So it, I don't know what that was all about. That that was just so strange. But it certainly gave me some input into how we can interact with our own mind in dreams. And so, was that dream character a projection of my own non-conscious mind where everything supposedly is stored? So was I just accessing my own non-conscious mind? Was I hanging out with some guy who knows? I don't know, but it was just a weird moment. Um, so all that to say, let's talk about these dreams that people have where they believe they're doing spiritual warfare, deliverance, or intercession in their dreams. And I've heard missionaries tell stories like this. Henry Groover, who's now passed away,
Yeah.
told a story where he dreamt that he was like beneath the Vatican, I think. And there was some sort of altar there, and his tight-knit prayer group, they were all there. And in this dream, they broke this altar, and he woke up and remembered this dream and was thinking like, maybe this is a prophetic dream and we're going to go to, let's book flights to Italy or whatever. So he called up his prayer team one by one. They'd all had the dream.
Yeah.
They all had been there. And so um I do I do believe that we can be utilized by God in his timing for his purposes. Uh that if there's a situation like in the Henry Groover scenario, what Christian with their whole prayer group is going to get let into some secret room under the Vatican?
Yeah.
Never. So, did God allow them to be, you know, show up there? Look, if the enemy can do it, God can do it, and God can do it better, and God probably did
Yeah.
it first. God just does things for different reasons. Um, God does things for his own glory. God does things so that his son's name is known throughout the earth and people are saved. He does things to expose the deeds of the devil. He does things to set captives free and bring people to salvation. Those are the motives. So it's not always the technology itself that's evil.
Yeah.
It's the motive. And I get into trouble when I talk like this. People freak out for some reason. But when Moses and Aaron were standing before Pharaoh, they were able, through the power of God, to do some miracles. The Magi, the Pharaoh's, dudes, were able to replicate almost all the same things. So it's not that one guy with the staff is a witch and then the other guy with the staff isn't. Or it's not that their staffs were evil and then, well, Moses shouldn't have a staff because only witches have staffs. Like that, people get really hung up on this stuff, Valerie.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, the Bible, under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, called that staff of Moses the staff of Yahweh. It wasn't called Moses' staff, it was called the staff of Yahweh. And the reason why this shouldn't be controversial to people is every single staff or magic wand on planet Earth was carved out of wood that was created by God. So if God wants to take something that he created and use it as a conduit of his power to display his glory, he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Why Moses and Aaron had staffs is beyond me. It's controversial today. No, only wizards and witches and bad people have to. What in the world did he have a staff for? So we want to delete, we want to Photoshop the staff out of Moses' hands. But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't doing black magic. He
Yeah.
wasn't calling
It
on
was the
Satan.
source.
It was the source and the motive and the intent and the result. And so I'm not telling Christians to go out and get a staff and expect Jesus to work through it. But what I'm saying is that if the enemy can pull you out of your body and bring you into other dimensions, then Jesus can, if he so chooses at his will and his timing for his purposes. Doesn't mean we seek it out or that we learn to, like, I'm going to help Jesus out and I'm going to learn how to astral project so I can help him, you know.
Yeah.
No, no. And not everybody is called to do this kind of stuff. But I absolutely do believe that there are people that do have that gifting. And there are people that are praying while they're asleep. And Jesus hears prayers, whether we're awake or asleep. He hears
Yeah.
them. It's not like, okay, Vicky, you know what? That prayer for your brother doesn't count because you were asleep. And
Yeah.
and that's the thing. That's another thing that kind of mystifies me, Valerie, is like it's like Christians believe in spiritual warfare, but if you tell them that your spiritual warfare happens at night while you're asleep, then you're schizophrenic.
Yeah. That's
Or you're
why.
not or you're not a Christian.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
or you have a Ouija board. And it's like, where in the Bible does it say that Satan and all of his minions clock out at sundown and don't bother you again until the morning? Wouldn't it be a good war tactic if he got you when you were the most vulnerable?
Yeah.
That's the part I don't understand. If you believe that it's Satan that popped your tire, then I can believe that it was Satan in my dream where I was being held down and tormented by an evil coven of witches.
Yeah.
That's what I don't get. It's like, um spiritual warfare, we're allowed to say it's spiritual warfare if we miss a flight or our car breaks down. But if we really encounter forces of wickedness and evil that is laid out in Ephesians 6:12, it says you will wrestle against these things. But if I tell you that I actually am wrestling against those things, then I'm a nut job.
Yeah, and that's why my tribe that I want is so important. Because
Yes.
you can't talk freely like this. They're just like, all of a
No.
sudden the room will start to clear out. You know what I mean?
You'll get the look. They slowly
Yeah, they're like, so, and if not, you just don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I
like,
know, I
yeah,
know.
so,
And then you go home and you're like, why do I keep doing that?
yeah, I
Every time
do.
I'm like, don't talk about the sleep paralysis.
Yeah, I'm always
Well,
like,
I had sleep paralysis
why did
last
I
night.
tell people? Now they
I
all
know,
know and think I'm weird.
I know. Oh goodness.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I honestly, I would rather happen it when I'm sleeping because when I'm awake and I'm hearing weird voices coming out of my,
Oh,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
yeah, I had to deal with that. Like things chasing me. One time an arm came out of the wall and I just
Oh
was,
gosh.
I mean, I was just a
Yeah.
little kid, you know what I
I'd
mean?
be done.
Yeah,
I'd be done, man.
yeah, woke up
I'd
and
be
I've had
done.
demons right in my face, like right
Yeah,
there.
I've heard people talk about that. I don't even know. It was scary enough. I don't know. I know these things don't have any mercy or compassion, but maybe Jesus was at like the table, when they were like brokering the deal. He's like, "Look, she's got enough to deal with all the surgeries and stuff. You can bug her, but you can't let her see anything." I'd be like, "Thank you."
And that's the thing. Other than that little mark on my neck, they did everything but hurt me physically.
Mm, mhm,
So
mhm.
I had, my mom started out as Baptist, but then she ended up kind of like Pentecostal charismatic, and now she's more fivefold ministries.
Okay.
And so I had a great grandma, my mom, my regular grandma. I had praying family, but it was like they would torment me and scare me. No, but they would not break my skin.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mm.
mean? They
Yep.
would not,
Yep.
like I would feel, the spider webs. I would feel something
Yeah.
pulling my blankets, things like that. But they never
Yes.
hurt me. They just
Yes.
hurt my brain, like in my
Yeah. Oh
mind.
gosh.
You know what I mean? It was
Tell
like
me about it.
psychological torment. you know, it's like I'm
Yeah.
here, but now I feel crazy. So
Oh
so
gosh.
yeah, that's what with me. So I think when I started back at church, because I backslid for a long time, and when I came back, it was when I was starting to go through all the deliverance and stuff. But
Mm.
everywhere I went, it was like I would start to talk about that, and then everything got weird. So
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
It it's funny now that I'm kind of, like, known as the sleep paralysis chick, I'll be, like, at Christian conferences or I'll be in big groups of Christians, everyone's like, "Hey, yeah, ah, la, la," and then they'll pull me aside, "Vicky, okay, ever since I was, like, 5 years old," and then it comes out everywhere, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, you didn't wanna say that when we were all sitting in the chairs with our coffee, but
Yeah.
now in the parking lot, you're fine with it."
Yeah. I think too, like at this age, I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, yeah, I ran from demons my whole childhood, my whole teenage years. I did Ouija boards and tarot cards. I got delivered, and here I am. It's like
Exactly.
I've just gotten to the point where I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know if that
Yep.
has to do with like a religious spirit thing where everybody feels they have to hide their stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really hide it anymore. I'm just kind of like, there it is. It's just like I just kind of do it. I don't really care anymore because the other night I was on a podcast, or not a podcast, but it was a TikTok live. I was one of the guests, and I get on there, and they were like, oh, because Candle in the Darkness, and I'm like, that's why I made my ministry page Candle in the Darkness, because it kind of self
Yeah.
describes. So
Yeah.
I was like, I said, they were like, well, what about you? And I started to tell my testimony, and then this the connection started to glitch, and the one girl got sick and had to bow out. And I'm telling them this, and they're all sitting there like, what? That's, they're just like shocked and I'm like, what? And so they're probably completely spiritually like weirded out and freaked out. And I'm just like, what? Well, that was just Wednesday, like,
Exactly.
so yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You I'm to the place now where first of all, I have a pretty thick skin, and here's the benefit of being bullied and teased a lot my whole life. You get to the point, and then you get to the point of healing, and then you get to the point where you have your identity and your confidence, and then you have the point where you get to that age where you just don't care anymore because you don't have the time or the energy. Um, I'm to the place now where the insults and the sarcasm does absolutely nothing to me because for every one snarky little comment I might get, you're not on the other end. I am over here on my phone, on my computer. I am on the phone hours a week with people, praying with them, talking with them. I'm seeing people get delivered. I'm seeing people calling me who are in terror or in tears. And 40 minutes later, when that Zoom call is over and we've prayed, they are crying tears of joy. They are singing. They're following up with me a month later, 6 months later. It never happened again. I'm free. I'm free. I'm praying to receive. People are praying to receive Jesus on the phone. Um, I'm seeing the fruit. I'm seeing people who finally get to talk about this who are getting set free. So everyone in the world can throw stones or make fun of me or talk about paint chips and tinfoil hats, and I don't care because I go to bed every night so full of awe and joy over what God is doing through exposing the enemy through this ministry
Yeah.
that instead of hardly being able to sleep at night anymore because I used to be scared to go to sleep, I can hardly sleep at night because I can't believe what happened
Yeah.
in that day. And so I'm totally cool with whatever. Oh man,
Yeah, because
say
they were
say
all
whatever
making
you
fun
want,
of me in
Paul.
the comments, and I'm just sitting there like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's kind of how I felt. So I was like,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I
But you know
just,
what?
ugh,
You know what's at the bottom of a lot of that mockery?
fear.
Whether they realize it or not, they're terrified.
Yeah,
Because if that kind of thing can happen to a normal person when they're a kid, then it could happen to their kid.
yeah,
And they don't want to face it. So it's just easier to just, hey, if I crack a joke and everyone laughs, I don't have to think about this anymore. I don't have to take it seriously. And I really think psychologically that is what's going on with most people, whether they realize it or not. And so yeah, I'm not bothered by it. And even the people that get nasty where it goes straight to like an insult about the way you look or whatever. Even in that, I sort of learned a long time ago that when you're having a theological debate with someone and you can go back and forth and you can be giving the proof text and everything, you always know when you've won an argument when that person starts to personally attack the way you look, because that means they're out of arguments and you
Yeah.
pinned them against a wall. So if someone comes straight out of the chute and the first thing they say after they watch a reel is something about the way you look, it's like, oh, I already won the argument. I don't even have to comment. Like, because you had nothing. There's something about this reel convicted you, frightened you, agitated you, rubbed a little bit too close to home, and you can't even articulate what it was about it that you didn't like. So you go straight to the junior high method of dealing with it. So to me, I'm like, well, if that person took the time to watch this reel, interact with it, leave a comment, then there's something memorable about it. That
Yeah.
means a seed has been planted. The Spirit of God can do something with it. And in the meantime, you've helped me beef up my algorithm. So thank you.
That's funny. Oh, that's great.
Oh my gosh. Oh my word. I love it.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah, I just started doing some of the TikTok stuff. I'm not really that much into it yet. I was working on my YouTube channel, and I my first four episodes were like testimony stuff, and I wanted to get deep into it, of the not to glorify darkness, but to tell them this is what I saw and this is what happened to me. And it was mainly for people that, the people that get into the ghost hunter shows and don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
The people that
Yes.
are, dabbling and doing witchcraft and don't realize it. So I remembered that call to darkness. So if I'm telling them and then they finally learned how that I got out of it, maybe that will stick in their minds.
Yeah. Yep.
So I went
Yep.
from when I was very little to when I was a teenager to when I was grown, and then when I finally started going through all the deliverance. Well, when I was getting ready to start my first actual deliverance, because I did the first four episodes of testimony, and that's when my tablet stopped charging, so I couldn't do.
Mm,
Yeah, when I first
mm,
started to do that, right, and I got all hyped up and was ready to go, my tablet wouldn't charge because I just used my tablet and my phone.
yeah.
Well, I get discouraged. I get a tablet. A month later, I get real pumped up, and it was right before me and you started talking this past week. I got all my paperwork printed out for my video, all this stuff. And then my phone, I'm sitting here listening to an audiobook, and I get up off my bed, and I had been cleaning, and my phone falls right into the water. Like, you have got to be kidding me. So
Mm,
I just got a phone yesterday. So
oh my
yeah,
goodness.
so I finally got it all printed out. I got a phone, I got a tablet, and I'm going. But
Yeah. Oh
it's
my
been
word.
nonstop. And then today, my check engine light comes on my car, and I'm like, anything
Yeah.
to try to stop me is. So yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I'm going through.
Yeah. I believe it. I had so many tech issues a few years ago when I started um marketing the book, when I started coming on the podcast. Like every time it was something different. It got to be comical. I the person on the other end would go have some tech issue and they'd be like, this has never happened before. And so
That's what I did that a lot this week.
I know, I know. So it would get to the point where, I would get on a new podcast and like before anything even happened, I would go, that's never happened before. And they'd go, what? And then like 10 minutes later, they'd be like, oh,
I did today. Yeah, because I did a run
oh,
through, and then I was like, okay, because my problem was with Zoom. It was like I don't want the time limit thing, It
Yeah.
said 40 minutes, and I'm like, well, most
Yeah.
podcasts are an hour to an hour and a half usually. I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
want time limits. If we get into something good, I don't want them to be like, oh, thanks you for coming,
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
and everybody was like, oh, we want $1 million to use our
Oh
software. And
no.
so I was like, what can I do? I'm like, record a phone call. So yeah, that's what I was doing. That's why I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so indecisive. It's because I was trying to work it
Yeah.
out. And then today, I wasn't even clicked on, and you're like, I was sitting here for a while. I was like, I'm sorry, it has never done that
Hello.
before. So yeah,
Oh man, it's so crazy. It's
yeah,
so crazy. I've had literally hundreds of different things happen to my tech over the last 3 years. Like, oh my gosh, you just get your rigmarole. Like, okay, I have to do this, and then it'll be something like, you know, flash flood outside, and you lose all your Wi-Fi. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me, man.
yeah. Do you know why we were sitting here? It was storming outside.
Oh
I
man.
heard
Oh
thunder, and
yeah.
I'm like,
It was
I'm like,
trying.
dear God, please, please, please. I was like, take control, take control. I
Mm.
was like, so
Oh man.
yeah,
So what was really crazy is when I first started doing this, I was on a lot of shows that were very secular, like psychic mediums and new
yeah,
age shows and all that. And I started to recognize that there was one question in particular that every single time they asked me that question, the tech would go down. Not always in the same way. Sometimes it would be my tech, sometimes it would be theirs. It might be the audio, it might be like whatever, Wi-Fi. We would be talking about the astral abductions. We'd be talking about, interacting with the beings. I would start talking about how this is the heavenly places of Ephesians 6:12. These are fallen people. I don't care what level of the astral you're on, and then you get
yeah,
nicer as you get higher and all this nonsense. Everyone in that and I would explain with the Greek, this is the Epuranios according to the Thayers. This is the actual, this is not the throne room, da 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 da. And then they would ask, what do they want? What do they want from us? What's the agenda? And bam, it would all go down. And then it got to the point where when they would ask that question, I'd say, okay, just a warning, the tech is going to go down. The reason that they're doing this, and then bam, the tech would go down. And on the Christian shows, they would like be praying. A lot of times it would take 3 times. We'd get rehooked up, and then it would crash again, and we'd have to pray. And I think I'm okay now. I think at this point, when I think because, you know, I think it got to the place where it was having the opposite effect. People were realizing, whatever's behind this, if it's an algorithm, if it's a switch, whatever, that it was actually proving my point. Because I would say like, okay, well, this is the point where the tech usually goes down, so I must be onto something here,
yeah.
because obviously they don't want you to hear this. And so I think that was part of it. And then also every time it happened, like as the months progressed, every time it happened, it got funnier and funnier to me. And it boosted my confidence. Like, I must be saying something.
That they don't
I
want
must
us
be
to
onto
know.
something. I am hearing from the Lord. Like, this is awesome. And so it was actually empowering me. So now when that question gets asked, everything's cool. But it took like a year or more before I could never answer that question. They'd ask, and I like the life would just drain out of my face. Like, oh no, here we go.
And they want your souls, and they want to make you afraid. you know?
They're grooming your children. Okay.
Yeah, that's happening too.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my
Oh
god.
gosh. So yeah. Oh, and there was one more thing I wanted to ask you. I know you've been doing some videos about brain to skull technology and the headbands. Now, doing what
Yes.
I do and what happens to me, that's terrifying to me.
I know, I know.
That is terrifying to me because I'm asleep and don't know what's going on. And it just,
Okay, I have to share this with you because this is even worse than the Halo headband.
oh.
Let me just find it because I just texted it to Merkel the other day, so that's gonna be the easiest way to find it.
Yeah,
Hold
I've
on.
been trying to get a hold of Merkel and Tom Dunn. I think they don't know me, so they'd ignore me. They don't want to talk.
Oh, I can get you in touch with Tom Dunn. He's my bud.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, okay. This is scientists create a unique device to record human dreams.
Oh, I
This is
heard
vid- this is
vaguely of
this
that.
is video. This is not audio. Okay.
Oh,
And it's based off of real sleep studies. It's not just like, like some little toy like the dog barking
yeah.
interpreter. I love you.
I know.
I'm hungry. Oh man. Basically, allegedly, it's like this box, and it will put like AI animations to your dreams. Okay. And the way that they've done it, they say it's only about like 60% accurate. What it does is it takes certain physiological measurements. Okay, so there's certain markers in your heart rate, your body temperature, whatever, right? Breathing, probably. And what they did for years, they did these sleep studies where whenever someone got into an REM state, they would wake them up and say, "Okay, what were you dreaming?" Because most people will remember their dream if you wake them up in the middle of it,
Yeah.
or it's the last dream that they've had. So they did this with hundreds of people, maybe thousands, I don't know. And they started finding patterns that when these certain physiological markers got into certain places, that person was having a dream of like something beautiful. Or this person was having a stress dream, they show up at work and they're buck naked. And then this person was having like a nightmare or whatever. And so based upon the um, you know, statistics of these physiological markers based on these sleep studies. Apparently, if you hook yourself all up to this thing, or you wear your little wireless ring or whatever it's going to be, and they measure all of the heart rate and all that, that you can wake up in the morning and you can see these like AI animations of your dreams. Now, here's the deal. I'm not so sure I want to see AI recreating my nightmares.
Yeah.
Like I can understand where people who never remember their dreams would be intrigued by that. Like, oh, I could keep a dream journal, and I could this or I could that. Um, but what I'm
Doorways.
curious about doorways, and not to mention the fact that they're not going to advertise all of the functionality of this technology.
Yeah, there's gonna be some
Are
sneaky
you?
stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be sneaky stuff. Are you capturing my brain data?
Yeah.
Are you putting together a cerebral genome project kind of thing? Are
Yeah.
you trying to hack my brain? Or because I said I agree when I hooked up the app, did I give you permission
Yeah.
to interact with me in my dreams? Or like, I don't trust anybody like who's got all
Yeah.
this kind of stuff going on. So, but yeah, so now it's not even like, so apparently the Halo headband, the Halo dreaming headband, as advertised, allegedly, it does not induce lucid dream states. It is there to detect a lucid dream state and elongate it. So you have a longer period of lucidity, which, based upon what you and I have been talking about, if you already wake up absolutely exhausted, why would you want that elongated?
Exactly.
But people don't understand the psychological and the physiological ramifications of losing real sleep at night. Like the sleep deprivation that comes from lengthy, prolonged lucid dreaming, it's exhausting, not to mention open
Yeah.
doors. But then they have sleep masks. um, and there's one guy out there now who's really no, that's something else. Michael Raduga. He's got Lucid Me. The name of his product is Lucid Me. And that is a lucid dreaming sleep mask. And that is being advertised as inducing the lucid
Oh,
state. Yes. Um, so I don't
that
know.
makes me
I
sick.
wouldn't, I,
Thinking
oh my
about
gosh. I don't even want to, like, I can't even take a children's melatonin gummy without my dreams going wonky. I'm not putting some robot hand on my head all night. Oh my gosh. No way.
Yeah, and then I mean, like, there's always these secrets that they put into stuff, like oh, they say it does this, but it also, the little print does this, and it does
Yeah.
20 more things that you're not realizing. So when I go to sleep, are these demons that I'm encountering they're gonna be bigger and stronger and chase me longer? I don't want, no.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I don't want anybody calling me out saying, "Oh, you let those witches bait people go." We know it now because we saw it in the thing. We got
Yeah,
evidence.
you were the one. You were the one.
Yeah, we got evidence of you doing it.
I know, right?
Yeah, I don't
Oh
want to tell
my
on
gosh.
myself.
No kidding. I
Wow.
I I agree. I'm just gonna be using this app, and, unbeknownst to me, you will be siphoning 1 brain cell per sleep cycle until I'm comatose. Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Yeah, that's
Ugh.
scary. That I already have problems with that. I don't need any
Yeah,
I don't need any
I'm not
juice
looking for
behind it.
any. No, definitely not.
Yeah,
Nope.
they don't know what kind of door they're walking into there. That's
No. Oh gosh.
I wonder if people
Oh
go
my
into
word.
good like cardiac arrest and stuff, or like that's just scary. You know what I mean? Because who
I know.
knows?
I know. It's getting creepier and creepier, and if this is the stuff that they're rolling out to the public, you better believe that the NSA or the Black
It
Ops
goes so
programs
deeper.
have a they have a version 10 billion times more effective than the one that they're rolling out for
Yeah.
you. So, heaven only knows, and, we gotta be careful, like, I've been as you stated, I've been talking about this a little bit more online, and there's always, like, the overconfident Christian that'll comment, "Good luck getting my brain data." I'm like, "They already got it."
Yeah. They got your blood when you just got checked at the doctor last week. They got your
I
DNA. They already
know,
got it
I
all.
I know, right? Your birth certificate is filed with the Department of Treasury. Who do you think you're fooling? Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh. Yeah, mine looks like a prehistoric document. Like the
Yeah. Oh,
independent.
I know. Me too. Mine's all yellow
That's
with
what
foreign
mine is. It's
edges.
like
Yeah,
you touch it and
looks like I was
turns into
born
dust.
100 years ago.
Like don't touch it real hard. It may fall apart.
I know, oh my gosh. Yep,
Be very
yep.
gentle.
Oh my gosh, it's so true. Oh my word.
Oh gosh. No, I'm
Mm.
sitting here laughing, crying. Well, is there anything else? Because I took some notes, so I think I've talked on just
Mm.
about everything.
This has been a very good overview. No, this has been an enjoyable conversation, and I love the fact that look, it's not that there aren't scoffers out there. There's always going to
Yeah,
be, but we are finally in an era now where we can talk about this stuff. Uh, and people are more willing to speak openly about it. And now that there's not a lot of taboo topics left, people are even feeling more safe to talk about the aspects of sleep paralysis that a lot of people don't want to talk about, the incubus kind of stuff. And I think the more that we talk about this stuff, the more we exchange notes, the more we're gonna chip away at this agenda, and we're gonna get it figured out. And I do believe that if God is in this and it's his timing and it's for his glory and it's for the exposing of the deeds of the devil, it's for setting captives free, that as there's more and more disclosure, I think that the more that we experiencers talk about this stuff unashamedly, and tune out the scoffers, and we prayerfully exchange notes, and we're praying for each other, and we're figuring these things out. I do think that even though this sleep paralysis agenda has been going on for centuries, if not millennia, uh, I do believe that they're going to have to regroup and come up with a plan B. I think we're on the precipice of blowing this wide open and
yeah,
figuring it out.
yeah. It's yeah, and it's just so many people's releasing information all at the, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, and it's funny because it's just all at the same time.
Yep. Yep.
Everybody is exposing everything. And
Yep.
in the Bible, where it says in the end times, all that's gonna what was not seen will now be seen. It will be shown to
Yes.
everybody, and I think that's the time we're
Yes.
in. I
Yep.
really do.
Knowledge will increase.
Yes, yes, but
Mhm.
they won't get my brain scans. No, I'm just
That's
kidding. Just kidding. Yeah. So yeah, I
Oh, man.
honestly, I'm not. I mean, I'm surprised sometimes, but I'm really not surprised with
Mhm.
and the surprise I'm talking about is like, oh, well, that's interesting. I'm not surprised, but that's interesting,
I know. Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
it's all coming
Yeah.
out at the same time. So
Yep.
yeah, and I think people would do well to kind of listen and you know,
Yeah.
open
Yep. Yep.
mind.
Well, and the thing is, if this has never happened to you, you never heard of any of this stuff, it doesn't apply to
It won't
you.
make sense right away.
Yep. But the fact is, maybe you should prayerfully consider it because maybe your kid does know what it is. Maybe your grandkid knows what it is. This stuff is all over. Kids are being taught this stuff on social media, all the witch talk stuff.
Yeah,
So you can blow all this off. You can roll your eyes. You can, call us witches. You can, do whatever you want. But they might be after your grandkid.
yeah,
I'm not fear mongering. The fact is, uh, someone who you love very dearly might be under this attack or
yeah,
targeted in this agenda. And so it behooves the church to be aware of and understand some of these more nuanced aspects of spiritual warfare because even if praise Jesus it's never happened to you, it is happening to more and more people and you could be the person used to set that person free or to lead them in the right direction. So we have to stop just, I always tell people that we have this form of spiritual autoimmune. We're supposed to all be different parts of the body and we're supposed to work in conjunction with each other. And we're not supposed to despise parts of the body or think we're more important than other parts of the body, that we work all together. And if there's a hangnail, we all hurt.
yeah,
And the fact is, we have looked at certain parts of the church, certain denominations, or certain fringe people, or certain trauma survivors, and the church has decided to be the immune system. And oh, look at that fringe thyroid. Let's attack it. And the fact is, you need your thyroid.
yeah,
Us fringy, weird, kooky people actually are serving a purpose.
yeah.
And if you take us out or you wipe us out, you're going to start losing all your hair and you're going to have the sweats.
You got the meat sweats.
You got the sweats.
Oh gosh, yeah,
Oh,
it's it can be hard, but I'm just praying through it. I don't know.
yep,
It's like I don't even have the words, I'm just like, here we go.
I know.
It's
I
like
know.
what's coming
Bring it on.
next? Yeah. Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. This has been fun. So yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and is there any internet connections or how to get hold of you or you know?
Yeah, the easiest thing is my website, vickijoyanderson.com, because everything that you could possibly want is pretty much right there on the homepage. You can email me, all my podcasts are on there, where I'm speaking at conferences, all my social media shortcuts are there, books, where to order, everything's right there, vickijoyanderson.com.
Okay, thank you very much. And
Yeah.
yes, you have been my first person I've ever interviewed. So you have the honors. So, so there you go. So it has been great. So thank you very, very much for coming and talking and
It
yeah.
has. It's been a blast.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.